and they're discussing the alleged instances of nepotism within the AFD. They should take a look at what's going on in the old parties here in the SPD, right? And now all this is coming out just before the state elections in Rheinland-Pfalz, right? Allow up to 12 years of special leave for the state secretary, right? And then working as a manager in the private sector somewhere, but at the same time cashing in on the taxpayer and then justifying the whole thing with the protection of democracy with exactly my sense of humor. And with that, gentle greetings, my friends of critical thinking, also in the afternoon. We're looking at what's going on in Rheinland-Pfalz, that the public prosecutor's office is now even investigating for embezzlement, right? The Court of Auditors had already warned back then in 2022. What's going on with all the vacationers at your place, Mr. Schweitzer, right? Namely, it's about suspicion of breach of trust. At least 2 state secretaries are said to have been granted special leave so that they can take on highly paid management jobs. They continued to receive additional benefits in retirement, even though they did not work in the civil service at all during that time. In one case, an employee is said to have been granted special leave for 12 years. This approach by the state government wasted a large sum of taxpayers' money to a great extent. Even the Rheinland-Pfalz State Audit Office raised this issue in 2022. However, as is so often the case, the warnings and recommendations consistently provided by these various audit offices carry no binding weight on governments, either from a moral or a legal perspective. There is simply no obligation to act upon them. There is simply no act upon these audit offices. Yes, that's precisely why Klingbeil is implementing a significant reduction in their budget allocation. Essentially, they're nothing more than a persistent nuisance, yes, governmental bodies that consistently bring unfavorable news to the governments. And they simply reveal the complete scale of waste occurring there. But the governments are not bound by instructions or anything like that, right? And you can tell that in 2022, the audit office is already warning them, but they are not doing anything. But now the joke is over, because now the public prosecutor's office is also investigating. Well, let's see what comes of it. A serious warning is issued, noting that the positions held by the state secretaries on leave have, in fact, been filled by other employees. No. What this also simultaneously illustrates is that from a purely legal standpoint, it absolutely cannot be classified as vacation time, since if your position has been reassigned to another person, then logically it ceases to be your position. But that's pretty crazy. Think about it. And so these are the people who are trying to tell us something about nepotism, either through Twitter or in the programs of the public broadcasters, aren't they? Not quite. The AFD employs people like so-and-so and other similar individuals and others. Yes, do they actually do their job there? So are we talking about individuals who are officially employed as state secretaries, but who in reality spend their time engaged in entirely different activities in the private sector, thereby collecting their extra salary while simultaneously drawing their state secretary's compensation, even though they're not actually working in that role? Then we have all the taxpayer money being frittered away there, while on top of that, even more staff are required to fill the vacant positions. This is, of course, because the original employees are no longer working there, thus leading to further expenditure of taxpayers. And then the exciting question is, what about the newly filled positions? And then, will they all be heading back on special leave again? And what else is actually happening inside the SPD, right? And what's particularly explosive is that this is happening right now, while the next elections are coming up in 2 weeks, or rather in Lower Saxony, in Rheinland-Pfalz. Let's take a quick look at the poll numbers. There we can see it, people, right? The AFD is on the rise. Come on, keep it up, keep it up. Share the video diligently, educate the people in Rheinland-Pfalz so that the AFD might even win the election there, right? The SPD definitely needs to be voted out of office there, right? And the exciting thing is that the Prime Minister there, right, Mr. Schweitzer, apparently has already had something to do with this topic before, right? Because of a phone call back then. Take a look here. Because he spoke to the managing director of a hospital about his brother-in-law's application, The Rheinland-Palatinate Minister of Health, Alexander Schweitzer, came under pressure at the time. Yes, that's exciting. Hospital and ministry argue about rising costs. Yes, as the process progressed, it became apparent that the application was not only being debated on a technical level, but increasingly on a political level. According to the ministry, this impression ultimately resulted in the candidate withdrawing their application. CDU Rheinland-Palatinate Secretary General Patrick Schneider described Schweitzer's actions as constituting an unacceptable interference in the free application process, calling it clearly inappropriate for a minister. Well, yes. But that was still under Malu Dreyer at the time, and we know what happened then anyway, right? I'll just say the keyword AI, catastrophe, and how to deal with it. You shouldn't really expect anything drastically different from the SPD in Rheinland-Palatinate. I happen to notice now there's even another video about this from Die Welt. Let's take a quick look.
State Chancellery, on the other hand, is certain that the practice is in line with civil service law. Michael Bassowitz reports.
Receiving substantial managerial compensation and simultaneously relying on the taxpayer for financial support. In Rheinland-Palatinate, a waste scandal involving at least 2 top civil servants is coming to a head. The state secretaries are said to have been put on leave in order to take on other, even more lucrative jobs. In one case, for 12 years. Incredibly, they continue to maintain their already substantial pension claims, a drain on taxpayer resources.
What's particularly disturbing is the apparent lack of individuals. Isn't it? Honestly, I really would have. That's a vow I always make to myself and a promise I truly keep. I never want to profit from or in any way divert public funds. Yes, my intention is to earn my money from individuals or companies who in this moment state unequivocally, yes, we will pay for this service. We are not looking for any contributions from other parties. Yeah. Especially when I know that I haven't done anything to ensure that these people can get up in the morning and look at themselves in the mirror while brushing their teeth. The hell, that's all I can say. These
Results for the SPD are just ridiculous.
You're on YouTube, I can see the hell as often as I like. Nobody from Ms. Kluckner's Rheinland-Palatinate government will call me to order.
This guy trying to win the state election for the CDU in March feels like it's some kind of
self-service store to him and also to the people of the state. It's also rude to do it like that. You're looking for the best of both worlds. To draw a substantial salary as a manager while holding a management position only to return for a mere instant what might be considered illegal. Second, and then receive a substantial pension from the office of state secretary. That's simply not right. I'll continue to criticize that.
the incumbent
Yes, you can criticize the CDU's mass deals right away.
SPD Prime Minister Schweitzer probably sees it differently. The leave of absence was approved before he took office, but instead of drawing consequences and releasing the civil servants from non-service, he defended them and even commissioned an expensive expert opinion from constitutional lawyer Udo Fabio. Likewise, the Free Voters have had a constitutional lawyer review the figures, and he concludes that because of these rules, there may have been a squandering of taxpayer money.
The state government bought into Di Fabio, expert opinion, euro 20,000, euro 1,000, euro 1,000 euros, and at the end of the expert opinion, Fabio writes that the best thing for the government to do would be to secure the whole thing through legislation. That means passing a law. In plain English, what you're doing is legally binding. You have to pass a law. So, he comes to the same conclusion.
The public prosecutor's office.
Yes, and that is not influenced at all, right? Suppose you get an assignment for 20,000 or 1,000 euros. Would you really want to later include in the appraisal, it's okay, condemn you, but perhaps enact legislation for stronger security?
Mainz told SWR that it is now being examined whether there is any initial suspicion of embezzlement. As long as this is not clarified, the well-paid managers will probably be left with their high pensions.
Yes, and folks, as voters, you just can't rely on the prosecutor's office. They might do something eventually, but it's likely to take 2 years, maybe longer. Don't hold your breath. Beware the results of the investigations by the public prosecutor's offices in Berlin and Chemnitz on the subject of the Bird visa affair. Well, did anything come out of it? No. You voters, you must rely on your own judgment and your own critical thinking, and you must unequivocally vote out this policy in Rheinland-Palatinate. It's on, I think, March 20th, right?